Yuma, and welcome to the National Capital Authority's Community Forum. My name is Prue and I'm the Director of Urban Design, and I'll be your MC for this evening. I would like to acknowledge and pay respect to the continuing cultural connection of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to country. Dawura Nguna, Dawura Ngunnawal, Yangu Nalawiri, Duni Manyin, Ngunnawal Wari, Dawura Wari, Ningada Dindi, Wangira Lid Jinyin. This is Ngunnawal country. Today, we are all meeting together on Ngunnawal country. We always respect elders, female and male. So to begin, a few housekeeping things. Toilets are located just outside the hall on the right-hand side. And in case of an emergency, please follow all National Portrait Gallery staff and exit the building. And we are recording and live streaming this event this evening, and footage may be shared on NCA channels in the future. Tonight, you will hear from the National Capital Authority Board Chair, Terry Weber, our Chief Executive, Karen Doran, and our Director of Major Projects, David Wright. When you have questions about the content you have heard tonight, please submit those through the Slido app. For the ease of our in-person and online audience, we ask that all questions are submitted via this platform. The QR code is on the screen. For those in person, we have staff in the audience tonight who will help you if you are having issues with this. Whilst we cannot guarantee we will get to all questions this evening, we will be doing our best. At the end of the evening, there will be a chance for those of you in the room to chat directly with some of the members of the broader team from the NCA. I would now like to invite Terry Weber, the Chair of the National Capital Authority Board, to speak.
Thanks, Prue, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure as Chair of the NCA Board to welcome you to the second National Capital Community Forum. For the first time, we're bringing together both people in the room here and also online. I would like to extend a special welcome to everyone joining us from home, but also for those here tonight who sort of maybe have made that special interest to come here tonight, special effort, and so thank you very much. Tonight, Karen Doran, our Chief Executive, will outline the NCA's key priorities and projects. She will update you on works at the National Rose Gardens, Federation Centenary Fountains, and share how regular maintenance was able to respond to community feedback by adding more lighting to the Lake Burley Griffin bridge-to-bridge circuit. David Wright, our Director of Major Projects, will brief you on the renewal and strengthening work at Commonwealth Avenue Bridge and Scrivener Dam. I mean, just as an aside, that work is in excess of $250 million. It's a major project for the NCA to undertake, and a big responsibility for David, and he'll speak to you about that tonight. There will be an opportunity to ask questions about these projects and other areas of work immediately following each presentation and during a Q&A session later in the evening. So I encourage you to submit questions as you think of them throughout the night, and those people from home are able to do that as well. I'd particularly like to thank the NCA staff who are sitting here at the front row. They're giving up their own time to come here tonight, and it's very much appreciated. and hope you don't get too many tricky questions as well. We invite you to engage with us at the end of the forum, but also ask questions towards the end. There'll be a dedicated question time. I always like to say that we'll try and be as open as we're able in answering questions, but sometimes commercial reality or some sensitive matters will stop us from being able to do that, and so bear with us on that. For people who maybe have some comments, we'll take your comments on board, and we'll make sure that if we don't necessarily respond to those comments tonight, if we get your contact details and so forth, we will respond to you with some comments. I noticed at the last community forum, there were a number of people not necessarily asking questions, but coming up with some ideas, some comments, and that's greatly appreciated. The NCA is in the process of updating our web pages as well, particularly on current projects. You can stay up to date with the broader work via our website, social media channels, and by subscribing to our community newsletter. Thank you again for taking the time, and I have no doubt I'll be talking with some of you later on this evening, and I'll hand over to our Chief Executive, Karen Doran.
Thanks very much, Terry. Good evening, everyone. Those here in the room and those joining us online. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join me and representatives from the NCA team at this, our second community forum. We're excited tonight to talk to you about a range of work that we have underway around the NCA estate. I'm sure you will all agree there is a lot of development and construction work underway in Canberra. The NCA planning team has a significant regulatory role in many of these projects, where the project is located in or impacts on areas of national significance. But the NCA also has a direct responsibility for the delivery of infrastructure projects as part of our role to maintain and enhance the national estate. And it's this work that we will be focusing on tonight. The team at the NCA is busy, but they are enthusiastic and they're excited. I'm lucky to have a team that is dedicated to Canberra, to our purpose, and to working effectively to achieve as much as we can for the community through well-planned programs of work. I would like to introduce some of the NCA team, not just those in the room tonight. Or rather, I would like to let them introduce themselves.
A common misconception is the NCA is responsible for delivering some of the significant projects in Canberra. Instead, our actual role is a regulatory one, assessing the project's works approval for consistency with the National Capital Plan. Any project on designated land requires works approval. This ensures these projects maintain or improve the existing special characteristics of our national capital.
The National Capital Plan exists to ensure that Canberra and the territories are planned and developed in accordance with their national significance.
Earlier in the year, we ran engagement on the Commonwealth Park concept vision. Keep an eye out for the listening report, which will be released later this year.
The Built Assets team is responsible for the maintenance and improvements of roads, pathways, memorials, and so many more things. One of our current projects is safety improvements at the intersection of Constitution Avenue and Creswell Street in Campbell, where a medium has been constructed to prevent unsafe turns.
Did you know that the NCA has a team dedicated to managing Lake Burley Griffin and Scrivener Dam? We work closely with lake users to keep them updated on activities or necessary upgrades that could impact the use of the lake.
Whilst the lake levels are down for the Scrivener Dam project, we're using the opportunity to fix up our lake walls.
Estate management covers a huge remit of land, all the way from New Parliament House across to Acton Peninsula to Constitution Avenue and other various areas. We look after the turf and the trees and the maintenance of things like weeds and pest control.
One of the projects we're currently working on is the removal of pest plants along Parks Way backing onto Commonwealth Park. This will be replaced with a beautiful callistemon hedge.
Come and see the friendly, knowledgeable staff at the National Capital Exhibition. Whether you're stopping by or here on a tour, we're here to help you explore the people and events that have shaped our national capital. Did you know the Next Plan Memorial for the National Triangle is a commemoration of Marion Marnie and Walter Burley Griffin? Our urban design team has recently engaged the teams who will deliver the new memorial. Head to the NCE and learn about the Griffins' contribution to Canberra.
Have you ever attended an event here in the National Triangle before? We hold a number of events here, from our wonderful drone show up in the sky to Carillion performances here on Queen Elizabeth Island. We also open the land up to community events and fun runs all around our wonderful Lake Burley Griffin.
To stay up to date on our latest events, make sure you subscribe to the National Triangle newsletter.
This is just a snippet of our colleagues at the National Capital Authority. A third of our staff are behind the scenes, working in areas like corporate services, including governance, work health and safety, finance, HR, executive support, and communications and marketing. The NCA is a great place to work where we recognise and celebrate each other's successes, sometimes even with cake.
So thank you. I hope you didn't mind me sharing that, but it is an enthusiastic team, as I said. So the the NCA, has two major infrastructure projects which move to construction phase in 2025. This is the Commonwealth Avenue Bridge Renewal Project and the Scrivener Dam Strengthening Project. Both of these assets are 60 years old, and this is the first substantial works on either asset since their original construction. Both projects are primarily about addressing risk, improving safety of these important assets. The Scrivener Dam is a critical asset for managing the water levels in Lake Burley Griffin and mitigating flood risk downstream of the dam. Commonwealth Avenue Bridge is a significant transport corridor north-south for Canberra. It's also an important recreational feature of our city, being part of the popular bridge-to-bridge walking loop and many associated walking and running events. Each project will run for 2 years through 2026 and 2027. As has been noted, tonight we have our project director to present on these projects in detail. And to start what will be a proactive engagement with the community throughout the project durations to provide regular updates on project progress and information about the impacts for the community. But before we move on to those major projects, I would like to provide an update on 3 other areas of current work: lighting around the lake, Commonwealth Park remediations, and the Parks Place precinct works. So lighting around the lake. The NCA is undertaking work to improve lighting around the Central Basin area of the lake and to respond to community concerns about safety. As part of regular weekly maintenance checks, the NCA does ensure all existing light installations are working. The NCA will also be undertaking a review of lighting throughout the National Triangle precinct. The original lighting design for the precinct was for an ambient atmosphere, with many lighting installations being at ground level. With the higher activation in the precinct, and in particular around the central basin of the lake, the review will consider lighting needs for the future to address safety and the required Australian standards. The review will include consultation with the community and will progress over the next 12 months. While that review proceeds, the NCA is also looking at what can be achieved through temporary lighting options to improve safety in the interim. And the picture that was up before this was an indication of some of the identified areas where the lighting is slightly poor and where we are looking to install some temporary improvements. The NCA will be trialling different types of installations which can be installed quickly and, importantly, using the existing infrastructure. For example, we don't have readily available permanent power supply to a lot of locations. So we'll be trialling different types of installations, some illustrations of which are here. Small uplights are being placed in garden beds. Existing pole lights will have updated directional lights that will increase the light on the sections of the footpath. We'll be trialling bollard lighting, which will sit about 1 metre high and will add lighting to walkways. And also trialling solar lighting where there is no access to permanent power supply. Moving on now to Commonwealth Park. The NCA released a Commonwealth Park concept vision earlier in the year for public consultation. Thank you to all of those who put in submissions and completed surveys as part of this process. Concept vision was intended as a long-term planning process. It identified a range of potential initiatives for this precinct over the longer term. But it also allows our regular maintenance programs to progress remedial works in Commonwealth Park in the context of the overall vision. The most recent of these works are to remediate plants along the Parksway border, which have become weeds and attract rabbits. Once removed, a new border of native callistemons will be planted along the entire length. And just to give you an indication of this work and how it's proceeding, we have a short video. In all our work, the NCA considers sustainability opportunities, including reuse of materials wherever possible. This removal of plants from this area has been undertaken in a way that the mulch of the materials can be respread throughout the estate. So moving on to Parks Place. a substantial program of works that is underway. Parks Place is the open area between the John Gorton building and the Treasury building. It's a prominent area in front of MOAD and as part of the Parliament House vista. This precinct includes the National Rose Gardens and the Federation Centenary Fountains. The NCA is undertaking works to upgrade stormwater infrastructure at Parks Place as part of its ongoing maintenance and management of the National Estate. The activities include trenching and subsequent removal of end-of-life stormwater lines and the installation of new stormwater and drainage structures across multiple locations. Again, all of the concrete from this work has been stacked together and then removed to be recycled. And I think the slides that have been up show the extent of this work and the trenching that has been involved across that whole precinct. As part of these works, given the area needed to be disturbed, the NCA is undertaking a refresh of the National Rose Gardens. These upgrades are progressing well and will improve the drainage infrastructure and preserve the landscape and heritage value of the gardens. It is expected the new gardens will be planted in autumn of 2026, and the site will look much different to what's up there on the screen at the moment. The Federation Fountains are also in this precinct. The NCA approached the market in 2023 with a call for concept designs for the Federation Centenary Fountains as an alternative to their reconstruction. The concept designs from this process presented a combination of garden and water elements for the site, balancing the preservation of existing heritage features with the need to consider issues of environmental sustainability. The preferred longer-term option for the Federation Fountains would include a zero-depth water element within the footprint of the central reflecting pool, which is the pool you can see there, with the side pools converted to garden beds. Having this long-term direction, the NCA is progressing interim works while the Parks precinct is closed with the other construction works underway. The interim option will improve the presentation of the fountains and address safety concerns. This option will commence the establishment of the garden beds in the two side pools. The central pool will be established as a hard surface plaza space for the interim. The planting of the garden beds is expected to occur in autumn of 2026. Engagement on the garden bed design will commence in November of this year, with 3 to 4 options being designed to present to the community and allow community to share their views on the potential layouts and the plantings to be used. So, I think you will agree with me that it is a busy time for the National Capital Estate and for the NCA team. There's always so much that could be done, and the NCA is happy to hear ideas and suggestions from the community. This allows us to plan our work in a way that prioritises issues by risk and safety, and also considers effective integration of projects and works in a precinct-based approach where possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Just going to get my technology working. We'll now be taking a few questions for Karen, and a reminder that there will be additional question time at the end of this forum. Okay, the first question I have here is about the bridge, Commonwealth Avenue Bridge, being a key for safety, risk transport and a vital spine of the Burley-Griffin plan. Can the NCA ensure works are sensitive to architectural integrity and meet requirements, and how? So that might be one that you might want to...
I will quickly answer, although we'll have a more fulsome presentation on that project a little bit later in the agenda. But yes, simple answer is yes, it will. The design process has been underway now for at least 2 to 3 years, and important part of that design has been to ensure the preservation of those important heritage aspects of the bridge and its importance as part of the Griffin Plan and the precinct. Heritage impact assessments have been undertaken and will be part of the approval processes going forward.
And this one's about the Fed Fountains project. In 2027, Old Parliament House will be 100 years old. Why can't the fountains be made a prominent feature to celebrate this, is the question.
Thank you. That's a great observation. The centenary anniversary of Old Parliament House, a very significant event for our precinct, and was one of the important considerations of the board when they were looking at options for the Federation Centenary Fountains. The long-term and preferred option, which I talked to, couldn't be completed in a time frame to have it ready for the centenary celebrations. Given that, I think the desire to improve the look of the area for that important event led the board to considering what we're taking forward as the interim option, which does start to establish some of what will be the longer term end product with the garden beds on the 2 outside pools. But that water element is the element that requires more design and more time and couldn't be achieved in the timeframes required.
Thank you for those questions. We're going to move to speak with, or for Dave Wright, who's the Director of Major Projects, to speak with us, to tell us about Scrivener Dam and the Commonwealth Avenue Bridge.
Thanks very much, Prue, and hello everyone. Thank you very much for coming this evening, and hello to everyone online. My name is David Wright. I am the Director for Major Projects at the NCA, and I'll be talking to you this evening about 2 of the major projects that we'll be delivering over the next 2 years. The first is the Scrivener Dam Dissipator Strengthening Project. A little bit about the dam. The dam was built in the early 1960s and construction was completed in 1963. It is a concrete gravity dam, which essentially means that the mass of the concrete from which it's constructed holds back the water in the Molonglo River to form Lake Burley-Griffin. It's constructed from 55,000 cubic metres of concrete, which is roughly 132,000 tonnes. And to put that in perspective, that's about 22,000 African elephants, about 1,015 blue whales, and perhaps about 3 million wombats. The purpose of the dam, the main operating requirement of the dam, is to maintain the water level in Lake Burley Griffin at 555.93 metres above sea level, plus or minus 150 millimetres. And generally, the operators will keep that within about 30 or 40 millimetres. So we've got a relatively tight operating tolerance for the reservoir. We can manage the lake level through use of the low-level sluice gates, which are large valves in the base of the dam. And we use those day-to-day to manage inflows from the catchment. When it rains and when there is a significant weather event in the catchment, we really need to pay attention, and we can use the 5 floodgates along the top of the spillway to manage inflows from the catchment. Each floodgate can release about 1 million litres per second while maintaining the lake level in the lake. So we have a very large catchment for the lake and a very large discharge capacity at the dam. When water passes over the floodgates or past the sluice gates, it enters the structure of the dam immediately downstream, which is called the dissipator or the stilling basin. In recent years, the NCA has undertaken a series of studies and investigations into the structure of the dissipator. And essentially, they've highlighted that under certain flow conditions, under certain flood conditions, there are risks, structural risks with the dissipator that could mean that it could fail during flood operations. And if that were to occur, it would compromise the structure of the dam and potentially lead to failure of the dam itself. So the NCA has established the dissipator strengthening project to address these key structural risks. The project will involve installation of roughly 700 new anchors down into the foundation rock underneath the dissipator of the dam, and these will be between 10 to 20 metres deep down into the foundation rock. We'll also construct a 500 millimetre thick reinforced concrete slab on top, tying into those new anchors. We'll be replacing the baffle blocks in the middle of the dissipator. Those are the concrete teeth. And we'll also be undertaking armouring works on the abutments to protect against potentially damaging erosion. So we have a significant amount of work that we need to undertake in the river channel downstream of the dam. And so this presents us with a couple of major challenges for construction. We will be working immediately downstream of the dam, and we need to effectively manage the risk to construction while working in that place. And also we need to maintain the function of the lake as best we can while undertaking those works. So we will be undertaking the works in 2 stages. We'll be constructing a temporary cofferdam between each of those stages to isolate the construction site while being able to release water around the works. And to further mitigate the construction risk, we will be lowering the level of Lake Burley Griffin by up to 500 millimetres below normal lake level. And this is mainly to allow time to demobilise from the river channel if there is a significant weather event in the catchment. We are aware that the drawdown of the lake will cause significant impacts to recreation and use of the lake, and so we are working with lake users to try and mitigate that wherever we can. We'll be communicating widely across the various platforms. We'll be presenting information on the project website, on the NCA's website. We'll also be providing updates on social media channels as well. And we'll be reaching out to the community through regular lake user group meetings and also through these community forums. In the near future, you'll also see some signs popping up around the lake which can direct you to the project page where you can find information about the latest lake level to help understand potential impacts for lake use. So we have commenced work on site. We commenced in April of this year. And over the past 4 months, we've established the site downstream of the dam. We've built temporary access roads down into the river channel, and we've started to build the temporary cofferdam. We're nearing completion on the temporary cofferdam. There you can see the aptly named Lego block wall going up just downstream of the dam, and this will help to isolate the construction site from where we are releasing the water. We also started removing the baffle blocks, and these are the large teeth in the basin of the dam, and each one of these baffle blocks weighs 15 tonnes, so it's no small thing to move. We've also started preparation of the surface of the concrete ahead of the new works. The current program for construction is roughly 24 months with completion in mid-2027, weather dependent, and that is a big issue with this project. The viewing platform at the dam will remain open to the public, so feel free as you're going past the dam to stop in and keep an eye on construction works as they proceed. And we'll also be publishing updates on the website. The second major project, which we will be delivering over the next couple of years, is the Commonwealth Avenue Bridge renewal project. So similar to the dam, the bridge was built in the early 1960s and was opened up to traffic in 1963. And there hasn't been any significant works done on the structure of the bridge since it was first constructed, and the time has come now to update that. So once complete, the bridge will be strengthened to accommodate the increasing population and increasing demand on the traffic network in Canberra, as well as improving the active travel paths around the lake and the network. At a high level, the project will strengthen the structure of the bridge, and this is a key focus of the project. The existing structure, we've looked at the existing structure over the last couple of years, and it has been determined that the structure is just not suitable to cater for the growing population in Canberra and the need to cater for increased traffic volumes. We'll also be improving the active travel paths and widening the shared footpaths on the bridge. And there will also be improved amenity in the areas and the abutments on either side of the bridge, and we'll be providing new landscaping and plantings on either side of the bridge. As touched on in the previous slide, the main focus of this project is strengthening of the bridge. This shows a short segment of the bridge. Most of the works will happen internally. It won't be visible. All the areas that you can see in light blue in this image show the extent of strengthening works, and that is ultra high performance concrete that will be poured and strengthening the internal structure of the box girder of the bridge. Together with that, we'll also be using carbon fibre reinforcement within the bridge, and we'll be installing new post-tension cables which will be run through the bridge and then tensioned up to improve the stiffness of the structure. We'll also be widening the shared footpaths on either side of the bridge, and this will help to improve the active travel network, path network around the lake. The new shared footpaths will be roughly 5 metres wide, which is almost double what is currently on the bridge. And we'll be installing new traffic barriers on either side of the road lanes to improve safety for pedestrians and vehicles. There will be improved access onto the bridge and off the bridge, and improved open space and landscaping on either abutment of the bridge. And we'll be improving the amenity of each of the areas on either side of the bridge, and creating areas for public to use the space. So currently we are finalising the design. We'll be going through a works approval process in the next 2 months. And as part of that, there will also be a public consultation period. We've undertaken investigations and surveys and geotechnical investigations. And we've also had divers in the lake to inspect the bridge piers below the surface of the water. We anticipate that construction will start before the end of this year. The first construction activities on site will be the construction of temporary crossovers in the median on the north and south of the bridge, and this will allow traffic management during construction of the works. And we're working closely with impacted stakeholders, but we acknowledge that it's going to cause a lot of disruption to the traffic network. Similar to the dam, we'll be undertaking the project in 2 main stages. Stage 1 will focus on the northbound bridge. The traffic arrangements at this stage are still being finalised, but what we do know is that we will be shutting 1 span of the bridge at any point in time to undertake the works on that span. For stage 1, the northbound bridge will be the focus of works, and traffic will be rerouted over onto the southbound side, and traffic flow will be maintained with one lane in either direction. Based on the current program, we expect that the northbound bridge will be closed this side of Christmas for a period of about 12 months, and then the works will swap over. Similarly, for stage 2, once stage 1 is complete, the bridge will be opened back up again for use, and that will include the wider shared footpath on either side. Stage 2 will involve closure of the southbound bridge and works on the southbound bridge. We're very conscious that the traffic management and the closure of the bridge is going to be disruptive over this period, and we are doing what we can to minimise that disruption. The project communications are already underway, and they'll continue in the lead up to and throughout the construction period. As with the dam, the key forums for communication and key media will be the project page and the NCA's website. We'll also be issuing project emails and project bulletins for those who wish to subscribe, which is available through the website. Signage both on the road and around the path network around the lake will be installed to let people know about upcoming changes, and we'll also be providing updates on social media, as well as doing radio interviews and so on. You can also get in touch with us directly through the email at the bottom of the screen. I'll hand back to Prue now.
Thank you, Dave. We're now going to transition to our open questions section. So don't forget to make sure you submit your questions on the platform. I'm going to also now have a look at the Slido to see if we've had some things come in for Dave to answer. There is one here. How does the bridge work articulate with the proposed new bridge for the light rail?
Thanks, Prue. Thank you for the question. So this work that we are doing on the bridge is separate to any of the work that is being undertaken for the light rail project, and that is being undertaken by ACT Government. These works will largely be completely separate, and will involve the works to strengthen the bridge for increased traffic loads. The light rail bridge will come after the works, and will at this stage will travel between the two bridge spans.
Will we see the plan before bridge works start this year? And if so, when? It's vital that people will have time to see and understand the total concept well before.
We will be going through a works approval process as part of the project, and as part of that there will be a period of public consultation, which is currently at this point in time due in late October and November this year. And so that is an opportunity to see the design and the design elements, and to understand that design and provide comment into that design.
Don't go away. What proportion of the bridge upgrade is a consequence of the inclusion of light rail against the bridge project budget, and how much is that?
So this project in itself is not related to light rail, and so there is no crossover between the two projects at this stage, and recently reported the budget for the bridge project is 137 million.
Thank you. Okay. We appreciate your time and discussion this evening, so thank you very much. I'd like to invite Karen to wrap us up for this evening.
I've got a question through and you didn't answer.
Oh, just a moment. Sorry, I'm going to have some technical help. Okay, great. I do have one here about the King George V Memorial, which has been repeatedly vandalised. Would it be best to remove it, is the question. Who would like to take that one?
Great question. I would be a brave person to suggest that. I think it's fair to say that is a permanent feature of the area, but unfortunately it has experienced quite a bit of unwanted attention. We have had attempts in cleaning up the graffiti, and unfortunately the last attempt, literally overnight, the vandals accessed the area again and installed new graffitis, and that's why you see those brown papers that we've applied to at the moment. The challenge with that, and I have to be careful because last time I said that, I feel like I actually encouraged people. The challenge with that monument is that the sandstone naturally is a naturally porous product. So once graffitied or once it absorbs the product, it is really hard to get it out. And on my part, unwisely, we got a media request, and I said that, and I think that then told people, hang on, we can actually do more damage, and this time the damage was quite significant. We have come across a new solution to be able to remediate the issue. It will take time, and we are working with some specialist group that we've and they are doing some trials on the side, and the idea is to remove the graffiti but also then try to apply a protective coat. There's a bit of a trial and error at the moment, and we'll hope to have that sorted out soon. But in terms of the memorial, I'm confident that it's here to stay.
Thank you. I have another one that's popped up to the top here. Is the fate of the fountains a foregone conclusion, that is gardens, etc.? This does not seem aligned with the intention of the architecture. I would like to take that one.
Thank you for the question. This is always a very difficult exercise, and I know there will be people who have different views on either reconstructing the fountains or how they might be reimagined. As I said before, we have been through a process where we sought options for design concepts, and those options have been considered by the board. They did all present in a similar format in that there was preservation of the essential structures of the three pool structures, and I think that was with a view to preserving that aspect of the feature. They all included a water element being retained as part of the feature, and again that goes to the original heritage aspects and the vista from Parliament House. But in recognising sustainability and environmental issues, the two side pools, which are the much deeper pools and hence take much more water and evaporate much more quickly, the proposals all came forward with various combinations of a garden type design. So that is the direction that we're going in. The interim works will test those garden design features of the area, and we are always open to community feedback and community comment, but I would like to think when we take down all of the hoardings around the precinct and people do see not only the new National Rose Gardens, the fountains in a state that is presentable and usable. We'll have fresh green grass across the whole of the precinct. I expect people will see the improvements that have been made through these works.
Thank you. There's one about that relates to light rail. As a part of the light rail stage 2B, has any thought been given to reopening Capital Circle in line with Adelaide Avenue? Anyone want to address that one?
The question, I mean, so just for those who don't know me, I'm Andrew Smith. I'm the Chief Planner. We've been briefed by the ACT government quite regularly over the last few years about their progress on light rail. I think the place they're at is now public. There's a draft environmental impact statement currently open for public consultation. They've looked at a number of routes through there. They've presented two, and both routes address the very real technical challenges that a light rail system has, and they've best balanced the needs for the existing road network, the needs of a light rail system, as to make modification, the extent to which there's been modifications to the current road system that are described in the EIS, but there's no real change proposed for the way Adelaide Avenue and State Circle come together. So I think for your bet.
I'm the operator.
That's okay. We're having some technical issues.
We are. Sorry about that.
I'm just going to step in for
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Okay, so our next question is about, finding our way around the National Triangle. So some people say that for tourists and locals, in terms of pedestrian access, transport, amenity and safety, what are our plans to help engage people around the National Triangle as they explore their way?
I might start on this, but then others might add. This is a really great question and a bit of a passion of mine, I must admit. And there is a lot of work underway that's looking to start to address, but also explore longer term possibilities in this space. So initially, Prue, who has just been relieved of her duties, has been leading a project to install new wayfinding signage around the estate, and that is one aspect which will be rolled out over the next few years. We've started with the larger, more significant signs, and we'll be working our way down to more directional signs for pedestrians and cyclists. When I was talking earlier about the lighting improvements around the lake, that review piece that I talked to will be in the broader scope, a review of accessibility and connectivity around the National Triangle. So it will be looking at paths, lighting, signage, and connectivity. So sometimes we have paths that end at roads or end at a point, and we are really looking at that full connectivity, down curbs, across roads, and connecting up on the other side, connecting up with bus stops and other access points. Accessibility for everyone, but also considering accessibility for disabled people, families with prams and other mobility needs. I think in other areas of the NCA, we've recently developed a visitors map, which is a fun new initiative coming out of our events team. It's if you go to Floriade, or if you go to one of the national cultural institutions, you'll find these outside on an A4 pad. You can rip off your map. It's a very colourful way of seeing what there is to do and what there is to experience in the National Triangle, and how to find what I think are some of our sometimes hidden treasures and of memorials and artworks and other features. That's probably my list, but thank you.
That's good. Okay, Dave, another bridge question. It's just clarifying a bit on the timing. So, will we see the plan for the bridge before it starts this year? If so, when may that be?
So, as touched on before, the opportunity for the public to see the design for the bridge will be as part of the works approval process and part of the public consultation as part of that. Currently, based on the current program, towards the end of October and in November this year, we will be releasing the public consultation, and people can take a look at the design as part of that process.
Excellent, thank you. Sorry, scrolling through as everything comes in. I'm just going to take another bridge one, Dave, or Karen, whoever wants to. Can you tell us a bit more about the anticipated traffic impacts with the bridge at the moment?
So, as highlighted, there will be major disruptions as part of the project, and unfortunately there's no way of getting around that. So we are transitioning both directions of travel onto one span of the bridge and having one lane in either direction as part of the works, and that will continue for about 2 years or so. It will be disruptive. We are currently undertaking traffic modelling to try and improve as best we can what those disruptions will be, but we're very conscious that it will be disruptive, and also particularly considering all of the other works up through that area as well.
Thank you. Does the NCA have plans to improve transport to National Triangle events? Currently, it's a bit car-dominated. Roads with key buses are closed off. There's a little bit of illegal parking. Am I going to throw that one? Hamid, Adam. Excellent, thank you.
And I realised I didn't introduce myself. Hamid Hedarian, I'm the Chief Operating Officer at National Capital Authority, and for one of my sins, I'll look after connectivity issues and parking and everything else at NCA. In terms of the transport, that's always quite an interesting topic for us. I mean, there's been suggestions, and some of you may have already been aware that in the past there used to be a bus that worked across and connected different cultural institutions. That was an initiative of the cultural institutions and always had a fun of life. And we did trial that, and there with different success rates in terms of, it worked well at times, and at others it was just literally an empty bus running around. So we're looking at other ways to how best facilitate connectivity, not just through a mode in terms of a transport vehicle, but as to points that Karen made, how can we make the area more accessible in terms of connectivity, light, a better direction, the signage that we've already talked about. And the last initiative that we've implemented is around the map to guide and to better connect the various points of interest around the triangle. So the long-winded answer is, are we considering resurrecting the bus? At the moment, there are no plans, but we're certainly looking at other ways of doing this. And to the point that was made, I think it's probably also worth highlighting is that the National Triangle plays a significant, and its purpose has always been to represent the seat of the government. But over the years, the expectation of area is also changing, right? So now we have this, pretty much everyone now understands or has heard the bridge to bridge walk. That's synonymous with the area now. So we're actively focusing on how best can we service those areas, whether it's through different signage, better connectivity, removing congestion points, but also creating new amenities. I mean, there's a sort of we have this in-house joke at the moment that you could walk around the lake and every 700 meters you'll be able to pick up a coffee. So that's really is the focus for us, where we can we want to be able to support that activation and really see how we can build on that.
Thank you. Bridge again. Will the surface for the western path be made safer? Is there a better railing design going to replace the western current railings?
So the surface of the footpath upgrades itself will be to current Australian standards and relevant standards, as will the barriers, and the barriers will be upgraded to improve the safety of pedestrians and cyclists as well, and to prevent risk of impacts with vehicles and so on.
I'm just going to hold you there. We've got a part 2 to this. Can you expand on how cyclists will cross the bridge during the closing of each side of the bridge?
So at this stage, the strategy is to move all pedestrian and cyclist traffic over onto the open span, and so that will be utilising the existing paths on the bridge. During stage 1, that obviously presents a bit of a constriction, but as we move into stage 2, we will open up the wider footpath sections, which will offer a bit more free-flowing pedestrian traffic over the bridge.
Thank you. I'm going to keep you here again. The bridge is key for safety, risk transport and a vital spine to Burley Griffin plans. Can the NCA ensure that works are sensitive to architectural integrity and meet the requirements?
Absolutely. So that's a key focus of the design and has been since the commencement of design for the project. And at each design stage, we have undertaken a heritage impact assessment and ensured that we are not adversely impacting the heritage value of the bridge.
Perfect, thank you. The next one is about in our National Triangle precinct, and it's just about if there's any plans for the tent embassy coming up.
So can I clarify the question as to what do they, if the question is, would it move or go elsewhere? The answer is no. But as part of the revamping the area, we work very closely with the tent embassy. We have a close collaborative approach with them where we help to the extent we can in the upkeep of the area and in providing some of the amenities. But to the core of the question as to whether any specific plans, no.
Thank you. Don't mind me as we scroll through. This one is about the fountains. I've just lost it. Oh my gosh, sorry everyone, this is highly... Sorry, the screen is just... It's about the timing of the fountains and whether or not we think that the project can be completed. Is it a bit ambitious, or how do we think it's going to progress?
Thank you. Yes, one of the important considerations in considering the interim option was to be able to complete that so that the site was ready and presentable for the centenary of Old Parliament House. The fact that we were doing works in the Parks Place precinct has enabled that, in that it's already an established construction site. We're digging up dirt, and we have now a place to put dirt. So there was some ability to leverage off that existing project. The garden beds, so the two side pools of the fountain, by the time we finish the works at Parks Place, they will be in a state ready to be planted out, but they won't be planted out at that point. But they will have had, they'll been sealed, they'll have irrigations in place, and as I said, we'll have the not the dirt that we've dug up, but appropriate soil and materials in place ready for planting out. We expect the plantings to happen in the spring of 26, and the anniversary of Old Parliament House is in the May of 27. So we would hope that the gardens look very presentable by that point. The central pool is being converted to a sort of hard stand plaza area, so it will be filled with a sort of sealed gravel, which is similar to the material for the paths that are already in that precinct. And we have been in discussions with MOAD around these proposals. They're very supportive and also, excited that that will be a precinct that they might be able to use in their own planning for events, etc., around that centenary celebration.
Thank you. Are there long-term plans for a Commonwealth Avenue King Edward Terrace intersection with consequences for land use around Flynn Drive Cloverleaves?
Yeah, that's quite a question. So because I think where that question might be coming from is some propositions made by the NCA some years ago now, and which are expressed in the National Capital Plan, which does propose the removal of the cloverleafs on the east and the west of King Edward Terrace. Currently, there are no moves afoot to change the traffic arrangements in place. I mean, David showed that they're going to be disrupted, but at the moment there's no plans for the NCA to alter the road network in the medium or long term. And the proposition that the Territory Government's put forward for light rail makes no change to the traffic movements either. So I guess if the short version of all of that is no, there are no plans for change.
Thank you. I've got a question on parking in the National Triangle. So fees are currently at $17.50 per day. Is there anything for workers that are coming in every day?
I just want to highlight 2 points. One, yes, the National Capital Authority manages the parking on national land on behalf of the Commonwealth, but everything that we do is on behalf of the government. So the fees that is collected from parking and what have you is all returned to the budget. So it's not for the NCA to keep. And the second aspect of that is that the parameters for around parking in terms of when it was introduced, how it was introduced, and how it would be managed in terms of all fee structures were outlined in the budget papers of 2018-2019, where it set the base fee and it then also sets out how they will get increased every year. In setting those fees, there is a couple of things that the NCA does. So we always look at across the road at ACT government and in terms of what is happening there. But at the core of it, the resetting of the fee, as I said, it is outlined in the budget papers 2018-19. I mean, there are some arrangements with some employers that may look at subsidising some car parkings, but it's not for NCA to get involved in that and offer that up. Because as I said, we manage the car parking on behalf of the Commonwealth and return all that revenue back to the Consolidated Revenue Fund or the budget.
Thank you. One of the two options for Light Rail 2B takes the tram deeper into the central area of the Terminal Triangle. Do you think this will open the precinct up a bit?
Well, I'm not quite sure what open the precinct up a bit means, but I guess for both options, for, we'll call it this capital circle, state circle route, well, there's a stop proposed adjacent to Albert Hall, and for the other route, there's a stop proposed just over there, outside the Treasury building. That's, in terms of stops, the difference between the two routes. And if we were to measure from say a distance to Questacon, the Albert Hall stop is 100 metres further away than the Treasury stop. That's not a particularly material change in terms of access to that national cultural institution. The next stop along the route is, there's one up at for State Circle, is at intersection of Kings Avenue and State Circle. And then the alternative is beyond and beside the Hotel Corridor. Both travel distances to national institutions on this side of the triangle are very similar. So I don't think in terms of opening up the National Triangle and making it more accessible for passengers and visitors, there's going to be a material difference between the two. So I guess what I do understand from conversations with the Territory Government, certainly for commuters, sort of their comfortable travel distance between a stop and where someone was prepared to walk, the walking distance, is about 800 metres. And so we can be confident, no matter which of the two routes emerges the preferred one, that all of the National Triangle and the Parliamentary Zone is going to be readily accessible by the light rail system.
And I think that's a great point you make, Andy, about the fact of that the ACT government is yet to submit through any works approval on light rail stage 2B, so you're still waiting for any of that work to come through as they process through their engagement right now. How can the NCA ensure they aren't holding back Canberra by adhering to a 100-year-old plan, rather than allowing the nation's capital to modernise?
I think one of our responsibilities is, in fact, to constantly review the plan and to reflect the growing and evolving city that is Canberra. And it is certainly one of our responsibilities that I take very seriously.
Thank you. How would you rate the level of engagement by Commonwealth Government and members and senators in the NCA issues? Yeah, sorry, let me try again. How would you rate the level of engagement by Commonwealth Government and members and senators in NCA issues? I'm going to take that one on notice. Apologies. I've just got to wait for my machine to refresh from up top. How can you reasonably consider the strengthening bridge project from the light rail? They are so connected. I think that's meant to be separate. How can you reasonably consider the separation of the two projects?
So as covered as part of the presentation, they are two separate projects, and the strengthening of the bridge is mainly focused at the need to address increasing demand for traffic volumes in Canberra and the growing population in Canberra. There were several options looked at to accommodate light rail as part of strengthening works, but it simply is not feasible with the existing structure of the bridge. And so this project, or the Commonwealth Avenue Bridge Renewal Project, is only focused at strengthening the bridge to cater for traffic demands and traffic volumes.
Perfect. Andy, please, yes.
Just as a supplementary comment to that, David's on the money. They are completely fiscally, structurally and governmentally independent projects. However, obviously, physically, they are sitting side by side. And the matter of the physical relationship between the two and what the experience of either rail commuters or motorists or whoever else might be travelling across the bridge has formed part of the thinking for both projects. And that's been part of the thinking for quite some time. Back in 2018, there was a parliamentary inquiry into the approvals process. I think that was right. And that provided some guidance on the design of the bridge for light rail and there's been some more detailed conversations regarding the relationship of the vertical elements related to the bridge for the rail and the strengthening bridge. Now, David's, one of the things perhaps was maybe not quite picked up in the detail of David's presentation was on the inner lanes of the bridge, so we'll call it, we're removing the pedestrian barrier and putting in the road barrier, which is the taller steel pipes. And at this very early stage, the proposition is for the handrail and the pedestrian safety barrier of the rail bridge to match that we're installing on the outriggers of the Commonwealth Avenue Bridge. So the barriers will match, and the depth of the bridge will match.
Thank you. Now, I think we've only probably got one or two other questions at the moment waiting in our hold screen that aren't related to light rail. So I'm going to ask those, but if anyone else has any other questions, please make sure you send it through Slido, or if you're having issues with the app, I can get out the roving mic and we can do one or two in the room. The next question relates again to transport to events in the National Triangle. Thinking about things like Enlightened and the Australia Day drone show, and whether or not we're looking at any transport arrangements for the events next year.
Great question, and I should have probably highlighted that very point. One of the things we did in not so much as an enduring service, but when it comes to particular events. For example, when we did the Australia Day celebrations, we actually NCA funded and put buses in addition to what ACT government had done. So we did collaborative with ACT government to get free buses to the area, but we also then arranged for another bus company to then do a shuttle service within the area. So that's one of the ways we are considering to service that.
Perfect, thank you. I'm just going to check on hands in the room briefly. Okay, lovely. Well, I might hand back to Prue and Karen to wrap us up for this evening. Thanks everyone for letting me pop in for Q&A.
Well, thank you again to everyone who's joined us tonight, both here and those online. We really do appreciate your interest and also your questions. Sometimes they're hard to answer, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't ask them. We do still have some time tonight, and so there is the opportunity for a bit more of an informal mingling and discussion, obviously for those in the room. So please do hang around if you have the time. But again, we really do appreciate your interest. We really do genuinely like to hear your ideas and your thoughts. And so I thank you for your time tonight. I should just say as well, thank you to all of my team who have both been here present tonight, who've fielded questions, but also those who were participating in the video to show their enthusiasm for the NCA and our work programs as well. So thank you.